Okay, let's give just a few more minutes, and then
like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we could start sharing about what people are doing. Our check-in question was, what are you planning to for your students in heliophysics this year? And so I know Maggie just emailed me a whole, Darlene, in fact, I don't know if you got that email today that I sent. But Maggie has a huge exciting thing that she's doing, working with teachers in heliophysics, and she's got about 300 people, or I'm sorry, she's got about, it was a lot. It was like 15 teachers, I think, that she was going to be doing a workshop with. So about using the solar pizzas and some other ideas that she had. So she may be on the Wigio asking people for more ideas or resource ideas about how she can best do that. So I know that's what Maggie's doing. How about the rest of you?
Lynn, you're doing some exciting stuff.
I'm always doing exciting stuff. This weekend, Montana State University is having its first Science and Engineering Fair, and our club is helping, and we are doing stomp rockets, but we're also helping with some solar observing. And we've got white light, sun funnel, a sun spotter, an H alpha that we're having, plus all of our solar education kit that we have that will be out. And so we're going to be doing that. And they're hoping to get 2,000 to 3,000 people this weekend. So I'm excited about that. Stomp rockets are cool, yes.
Can you explain what a stomp rocket is? I don't know what that is.
Oh, they're so cool, Claire.
I'll not be too enthusiastic, but I can tell you that, Claire, are you coming next week for the retreat?
Yeah.
Then we will go up to Galileo's, and I will let off a stomp rocket in the theater.
I'm going to hold you to that.
No excuses. I will totally do it.
With the stomp rocket, we're going to be getting the kids there, and they're the propulsion to shoot off the rocket. So they're stomping and shooting it off, and so we're real excited about that. We have a member of our club who's been doing this at different events, and he gets swamped with kids coming and wanting to do the stomp rocket, so that'll be fun. I'm just hoping it'll be clear enough to do the solar observing, and the sun's been kind of quiet lately. I've been trying to, there's an astronomy class at the high school, and we keep setting up days that we're going to go out and observe, and it's not good enough, and the teacher keeps canceling. So hopefully things will turn around quick.
Speaking of the sun being quiet, in the chat window, I just put in a link to a short article about that right in the middle of Solar Max, it is quieter than expected. And I'll also post this on Wigio too.
Speaking of posting things on Wigio, Nancy just posted pictures of the new grandbaby if you haven't gone over and looked yet.
Yeah, she's adorable.
How many hours old?
I don't think she said, but I got the impression that she was born earlier today.
Okay.
So along those lines, I have some unfortunate news to share with you all, and that is that Jane's not going to be joining us today because she unfortunately lost the baby at, I think it was 28 weeks of pregnancy. So it's, I think, pretty devastating. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news on this, but she did let me know that it was okay to share with you all. It was okay for me to share this with you all. So I think that I'd like to send her a card or something, and
You know, when that happened to me, my sister-in-law sent me flowers, and that was it was just nice to have something really beautiful to look at. You know, it was just very simple too, and thing if she's open to it. I also don't want to, you know, people are very sensitive.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and so if this is something of interest, then certainly I can sign all of our names or send it on behalf of the community of practice.
I think that would be good.
Yeah, flowers or like a potted plant, you know, something that would, you know, keep going. Would be cool too. Oh.
I think the potted plant idea is a good idea. Because it does keep growing. We do have to keep going.
So there's some happy news today and also some sad news.
Nancy, was it really recent, or has there been some time? I mean, she didn't write us today, or write you today, did she? Today, did it?
She sent me the email yesterday, and she didn't say when.
Didn't specify.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Huh. All right. Well, does anybody else have any exciting things they're doing in their classroom this year that are exciting?
No, you got it. Yeah, no, we'll take that back.
Diane, what about you? Or Wendy? Laura, you're another person who always does exciting things.
Well, can you hear me? I haven't started my classroom yet. It doesn't start until November. So that's why I chose to get my knee now to rehab 2 months, and then I'd be ready to go. But I plan on using and developing, along with the parts of the lesson that I did for the Van Allen probes, using the lessons that we did with the magnets. So I'm going to start with magnets. And my kids travel a lot also, so the theme of perspectives is going to be certainly in there, because they're snow. I mean, they're competing and constantly on snow. So how the magnetic fields affect them in their lives. We're going to do Earth Cam, and the lessons that I shared for feedback, we're going to continue with those and work those in. There's always a connection. So that's what I'll be working on, besides rehab.
So I see Laura in the chat window. Laura said, "My mic's not working. I'm going to have my astronomy students work on a larger sun science unit in a few weeks. I am hoping my physics students will do a study when we get to electromagnetic studies, and possibly the middle school group later in the winter. It's my year off for Earth studies, so I'm working it as I can." Yeah, that's right, Laura. You teach all the grades, don't you? Middle school and high school. time crunched. Oh, for the State Science Teacher Association.
I can go next. Can you hear me? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to get into some research with the magnetometer data through Themis. I'm just going to try to work that in. We have an astronomy club, and there's a lot of kids that are psyched about doing that. So it's an after-school thing. We're going to try to get something worked out with the Themis data. So.
You guys all come up with the coolest ideas. You're all so awesome. That is so exciting, Wendy. I love that. Like, let's take something new and figure out what to do with it.
Yeah, right, right.
And speaking of magnetometers, I know that when we met this summer for our retreat, we had talked about that there was a magnetometer that was up in Flatnews, and there's a possibility of maybe moving it down here. I talked to the people here in town, and they would be really excited about getting a magnetometer here. And I know that we had talked about looking into that and making that happen. So the powers that be said that we have a couple places that we can put it, and they would love to have one here. So now what do I do?
Okay, well, so that's great. That's great news. 2 thumbs up for that.
That's a great problem to have.
Yeah. And Laura Peticolis and I talked to the folks at UCLA about the possibility of getting another magnetometer installed. So we brought this up with them, thinking of you. And they're working on putting together a cost estimate for how much, because basically someone would need to come out to your location with the magnetometer and install it and set it up and then do some training. And that's all something that would be done by the UCLA folks. So they're going to put something together on that, but I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I wasn't sure if that was still something of interest and how feasible it was for you. But it sounds like it's worth continuing to pursue.
Right. People at the high school are interested in it, and we've got Montana State University here, and guys in the solar physics department are interested in it too.
Okay. So we can talk more offline, but I think it might be worthwhile for me to put you in contact directly with the UCLA folks, because I'm sure they'll have all sorts of questions about location and that sort of thing that will impact what they're thinking, and then that way you can communicate with them directly.
Okay. That sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have a minute for me to go or not? Everybody? Hello?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, please do. Yeah. I have everybody on the block view, so I can see all of you all the time, and so I'm sitting here enthusiastically nodding my head, and I realize you might not be able to see me. So.
Okay. Well, I've got 40 kids in astronomy this year, and 80 kids in physics, and so there's a lot of crossover. And with the astronomy kids, well, for the LADEE launch, I pulled out my laser. That I've got both a white light and a laser source that I have in parallel. That we what I do is basically use the light or rather the music modulates the light, and I tied that in with the fact that they're using the laser to send the signals back, and how it's greater density of signal. And So that was, I did that the day of the Laddie launch, and I was able to tie it in for both sets of kids. And then with the astronomy kids, I have them outside measuring the angle to the moon and tracking it across the sky. And I'm getting the best responses out of these kids I've ever gotten. It's really, really exciting. And so we'll be getting to the sun in about 4 weeks. And at that point, I should have access to the computer, and I'm hoping to have at least one computer for each 2 kids, so I can take them on Helio Viewer. And of course, you know, my home page is space weather. You know, I go on the internet at school, that's where we are. So so they see it all the time. And it's just, I'm having a ball. So.
That's so great, Diane. What a wonderful idea, and that you know, that you give them such a wide array of possibilities. Do we leave anybody out? Or do you want to say hi to you? I see you quietly down there in the corner. But glad that you're here. How are you doing? Maybe you can't hear me. That's not able to hear me.
I know that he was having trouble with his sound a little while ago, so maybe that's still happening.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. And
no, I think he's there now.
I'm so glad I know this is. Yeah, can you hear Ricky? Can you hear us now?
Me, so I'm all good.
Awesome. How are you? You're doing good?
I'm doing good. I'm using a different computer today, and it didn't have Zoom set up on it.
Well, we're glad you're with us. It's so great. No, we're a smaller crowd than usual, but I'm grateful, and I know that others are too, that those of you who are able to make it are able to. And I think we'll go ahead, and I know that Laura's not here. Nancy, do you want to cover the first piece of our agenda about the funding questions?
Sure. Yeah, so just to give you all an update on the NASA funding for the community of practice. I think you all knew that the funding for the community of practice through the end of September is coming from the Themis mission and the Van Allen Probes mission and the Heliophysics Forum are kind of the 3 big places. And earlier in the spring, I had mentioned to you that there's a proposed restructuring of STEM education at the federal level, which as planned would affect NASA Education Public Outreach. So I think that probably the biggest piece of the update is that things are still very much uncertain. There's a lot of questions about what is going to happen, a lot of speculation. You know, there's some things that are certain, such as the Themis mission Education Public Outreach will be ending as of September 30th. So that we know for sure. There are other questions about whether other mission education public outreach, such as Van Allen Probes, may continue or may not continue. It's still unclear at this point. We are, as far as the Heliophysics Forum goes, which is kind of an overarching coordination group for all the different organizations that receive NASA Heliophysics EPO funding, the forum as of right now will continue and will be taking over the leadership of the community of practice. So I think that the most important things for you to know is that, you know, that there's been multiple funding sources in the past, and now it's going to be shifting probably primarily to this one funding source, which we're expecting to continue for at least another year. So the community practice will continue. It's unclear at this point what can be funded under it. Like, for example, it's unclear whether honoraria for lead teachers can be funded through the Heliophysics Forum. It's unclear whether travel can be funded through the Heliophysics Forum. So these are some questions that we still have and don't currently have answers to. So I expect that we will know more in October, because October 1st is the start of the new federal fiscal year. And so, you know, some of these questions should be answered at that point. But I think that the takeaway message that I'd like to leave you with is that community practice will continue under NASA funding. The specifics of how that's going to happen may shift and change, and we'll keep you updated as we know more. Any questions about that?
No?
Well, it's good to hear that.
A lot of good news then, Nancy.
That is good.
So there's a good possibility that we'll be able to continue, so that's good news, right?
Yes, it is good news.
Yeah.
And I would also
Really
say
good.
that I think that there's interest, well, not I think, I know that there's interest from other groups within NASA Education Public Outreach in the community of practice. And so and we had also, we put this community of practice into a proposal called Senior Review, and it was reviewed by external people, and the review results were excellent, came back as being excellent. So there's definitely interest in the community of practice, and there's support for the continuation of the community of practice, and we do have funding through the Heliophysics Forum for the financial aspect of it. So that is all very good news. And also that this group of coordinators is very committed to keeping this going.
Are there any other questions or comments about that, or concerns, or that anybody wants to express? Or, I mean, Nancy, you were really thorough, so I can't imagine there might be a whole lot. But
and if anyone has questions or comments that you want to share with me through email or phone afterwards, if something comes up, please feel free to contact me.
Well, knowing that we need to have funding in place to be able to continue this in some form, and you know, lots of this group can evolve and grow and change, and that's what this is our last agreed upon meeting for this part of the journey in this community of practice. We have lots of questions that are out there, and you were very, very kind to take the time to answer the survey questions for the evaluation piece of this project. And I know that we all enjoyed reading your answers, and that it was very informative. So I think Ricky was going to take some time to give a synopsis of what it is that that did come out of those questions. It was really, really wonderful to read.
Yes. So thank you again, everyone, for filling out your survey so quickly and with such thoughtful answers. There were definitely a couple of things that stood out for us, and I'm just going to go through them really quickly. So if there's anything that you hear that you want to comment on or talk about, you can feel free to interrupt me, or you can wait until we're all done and we can talk about them at the end. So the first thing that we were really, and they were all really positive feedback. So the first thing that we were really happy was that everyone, even though in spite of our challenges, is still really excited about being a part of the community of practice and looking forward to moving forward. So that was really good news for all of us, of course. We've been able to do a lot of really good work remotely, but we still feel like we would benefit from a face-to-face meeting. So the group is still looking forward to meeting each other and a real face-to-face meeting, and think that would be a much more effective way to get some of the important questions done and some work done. As a group, we still feel like it would be very beneficial to meet more frequently, and we were suggesting some ways that that could be done in smaller groups that are arranged around your location that would be able to meet at a more convenient time for everyone, or by offering an additional meeting, but not expecting everyone to be a part of it. Only those people who it worked for or whose time it was convenient for would be able to meet at those times. So there were a couple of different ways that we were thinking that we could take care of that need to meet more frequently. We were still very anxious about our community of practice and waiting for clarity on when and how we were going to expand and who we're going to expand the group to. So those are some questions and some work that we really still need to focus on and be ready to take care of for the next part of the community of practice. And the technology piece, there are people who, we have members who still feel like Wigio would work really well for the expanded group, but would like more experience with both Wigio and Zoom. So those were kind of the big picture points that came out from the survey. So if there was anything that I left out or anything in the survey that you still feel was really important for us to talk about, I think this would be our opportunity to do that. Anyone?
Well, there was a comment there about some of these districts blocking Wigio, so that's an important one.
Yeah.
Lynn, what can you, and Wendy, so what are there other platforms that are similar to Wigio that your district is trying to funnel you towards? Or I know that CPS, it can get into Wigio, but they have Edmodo that they do. But Lynn says she can view it from home. Is that a problem not seeing it at school, Lynn? Or is it okay to use from just home?
I should probably change my email address because the emails show up at my work and they show up there and I want to go in and look at it and I can't. So I guess I just have to change it so that I check it at home. And I'm home now when when we have our video conferences. It's late in the day for me, so I'm already home. And it's just that when I get the emails and it says that there's something there waiting for me and I have to wait till I go home to look at it.
Do you know if Edmodo is allowed in your district? Is it?
I do not. I do not. I can try to put in the tech request and ask them to view it and try to unblock it, but usually that's a little much to try to get them to do that. I can try to start that process and see what happens. But what we're doing is all after work, and if we're going to be creating our own little community of practices, They're probably going to be people local, same time zone. They're probably going to want to do it at the end of the school day too. So.
Okay, well, good to know, because if you're running into that and if Wendy's running into that, then I'm sure, you know, as we expand, there's going to be other teachers who will be in that same situation too, I would imagine. So it's just good to know, to get a sense of how common this is, and if at some point we might need to look at another tool. Because unblocking is great, but you know, it is an additional barrier to participation. Which,
well, I don't know if they wait if it's yeah.
You kind of cut out there.
Correct, and I was able to view it up until summer started, so they must have done something. They put in a new field, got flagged, and when I started getting the emails this school year, and I'd click on the emails to go view them on Wigio, it wouldn't let me in.
I have used my email from home for years for exactly that reason, because they blocked all.
We're going to ask them to see if I can get it unblocked.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
I was hearing you, Diane.
I was just thinking, when I get stuff from Gabbert and NASA, I always put it through my Gmail account, because my school board account, they just dump stuff all the time. And so I, you know, when I have to use the school account, I'll tell them my contact is Gmail, because they threw me out of every single one of my professional, you know, the listservs and bulletin boards and things like that. And they did that years ago. And then they also, pulling in the radio, using the radio telescopes at Goldstone Apple Valley, they, between one telescope session and the next telescope session, they put in extra security measures, and actually, you know, just knocked me out of it, and that took a major effort to get a hole put in our filter for that, so that we could do the radio telescope stuff.
Oh, wow.
So.
Well, I'm getting the emails, which is good. It's just that when I click on them, it will not take me to the Wigio site.
So are there any other, thanks Ricky for sharing the summary. And I'm wondering, are there any other thoughts, questions, anything like, any other responses at this point? Okay, then maybe we should move on to move on to moving forward.
Move on to moving forward. Absolutely. So as we looked at this, you know, we're really, really enthusiastic that all of you. Can you guys hear okay? Is it? I feel like it's a little. I keep losing you guys, and I did get kicked off once. You know, really enthusiastic that the people in this group want to continue to go, and are have a vested interest in it. And so we kind of looked at in the forums within the heliophysics forum and asked the question, how can we, if we have funding for this, how can we continue to go forward and what maybe this is because there's definite interest in including other people. This group has really found it a valuable program and project and want to be able to offer those pieces to others. And so one thing that was identified in the forum as a common theme that came from all of you is that you've all participated in some sort of ambassador workshop. And so you're familiar with the NASA programs, you're familiar with the NASA missions, you're familiar with the NASA resources, and you are able to use those commonalities between you to really offer support and other resources to one another. And so when we looked at the question of expanding the group, while there's a possibility that we could just invite anybody who has an interest in heliophysics, does that continue to be a valuable resource for everyone? And I don't know, although you all, so I guess maybe I want to start with the question, when you think of expanding the circle, that's, our perspective from the forums, but when you think about inviting others into the group, what are some things that cross your mind? And when you've thought about that, who have you had in mind to begin to offer this opportunity to others?
Well, we've got State Teachers Convention coming up here a little over a month, and to be able to have information there, and you're hitting teachers from all over the state. We've got a pretty big state, and people come from all over the place, but we also have the really small schools where, like Flora, where you're the one teacher and you're all subjects for everything for several grades. And so to be able to help them and give them the support where they probably were an English teacher, but they had room at that, and they're just trying to stay a chapter ahead of the kids. So I was thinking starting local, groups of people that we're already in contact with from different activities that we're already in. So that's what I was thinking.
So you were thinking, Lynn, what I heard you say, and I'm cutting in and out, so I may try to join by phone. But so Lynn, what I think I heard you say is that you felt like this could be a valuable resource for people who are having to be all things to all people. Is that what I heard you say? No.
Right. The smaller schools where there's one teacher doing several different grade levels of science, and so they don't have an expertise across all areas, and so to be able to have this group spurt in short order on things because they know who to go to, who has the answers, and the activities are there, the resources, someone to talk to. There is a teacher that is out in the Crow Agency, out in the Indian Reservation, and I've been doing a lot of email with her, and I've been out to the Crow Agency, and I've done some solar things with her in the past, and we have a PIR day coming up in a week and a half, and I usually go out there in September, and we've already made plans for me to come out and help do a little bit of solar stuff with her out there. So people like that, I know that here in Montana,
Am I muted? Oh, I'm not muted. Oh, good. Okay. I was getting scared. So I appreciate that, Laura, or I appreciate that, Lynn. I'm looking at Laura's comments here, and you know, I don't know if you all can see Laura's comments in the chat group. You know, so could this group be used as a portal to other NASA workshop pieces? Because one other thought we had thought of was that, you know, so many of you are ambassadors either for AGA or GONS and have offered workshops or pieces. And Lynn, I think that might be a little bit where you're coming from. Too, is that, you know, are there people that have been through these workshops that we could invite in? But what I hear you saying, Lynn, is that people who are interested, and Laura's kind of echoing the same thing, that, you know, you have this access to a larger local and state pool. So how does that continue if we choose to go forward and invite others? I'm just kind of processing out loud, so bear with me. If we go forward in inviting people who might be interested, that brings up two questions for me. And one is, how does that serve you as lead teachers? And does it? And is that important? And then two, how, you know, do we feel like it can be anybody can come kind of piece? Is there, you know, is there anything that might be more valuable? Or I don't want to use the criteria because I don't want to lead us. But, you know, how, you know, if Lynn brings 20 people and Laura brings 50 people and Diane brings 100 people, is that still something that's going to the community? Do we want to have it open to as many as possible? Or would it feel better to people if we kind of slowly, you know, everybody doing 2 people? What are some thoughts around those pieces?
Well, I was also under the impression that we as lead teachers are one core group here, but each of us goes out and has our own group. And we have this group to come back to as a sounding board for resources, for activities, but we're reaching from here out, and we're going out into the community and grabbing people and working with them. So kind of like us at the top here, and we're going and working our way down and starting more groups below us.
So Lynn, just to build on that those groups could be regional. For example, one example might be that you would be leading a regional group that you know, maybe there's like a subset of WIGIO for that group, for example. Is that what you were envisioning? Okay.
Yeah, I was. And then if something comes up, then somebody asks me a question I can't answer, I've got resources, I've got you guys to contact. And so yeah, that's what I was saying.
Okay. And I see Laura's comment.
We've got a lot of people posting comments.
Okay, so let me ask you this. One of the things that we've been discussing in the coordinators group is to what extent, knowing that as we grow this, we want to do so very mindfully so that we can keep building on what we've got, and the energy doesn't dissipate in all sorts of directions, or we don't bring in too many people at once and then it gets overwhelmed. So one of the things that we had discussed in the coordinators group was to what extent do we want to limit the expansion to those teachers who have already participated in NASA programs, teacher professional development before, with the idea being that that would provide a common base, a common experience for the teachers of the community of practice. So what are your thoughts about that?
By working from that group of people that have already expressed an interest in wanting to learn and grab more tools for their teaching toolbox, if they've already expressed interest in the NASA workshop, then you know that they're interested and you know that they want to expand and learn. So that's a good group of people to work on too.
Okay, so Laura, that could also help to add to the depth of knowledge and new members' ability to feel useful and valuable. Also would provide a common experience of access to resources and methods.
Okay, I get the impression from Laura that, and also a little bit from Diane, that there's, they feel like there's a little more planning and prep to be done before we open it up to the wider world. So I know, Laura, your microphone is not working, but Diane, would you like to say a bit more about that, or would either of you like to say a bit more maybe?
I think that we do have a natural pool, and it's a big pool, but I don't want to lock out the occasional passionate rookie who doesn't have, if this is their way in. I wouldn't go looking for people with no experience, but if there was somebody who really, really was excited about it and wanted to start to do it, I wouldn't want to lock them out. That's all. I also, last year I did a workshop in Texas, or it was earlier this year actually, at SEEK, the Space Exploration Educators Conference, and I wasn't entirely happy with the results from it, and part of that was because I just ran short on prep time. And so this year I did not write a proposal because I want to be able to go in next year and do a fabulous job. I'm going to have all my ducks in a row before it's even time to go, and get the proposal written. So and it's going to, like I said, I'm going to combine the heliophysics and Van Allen probes and kind of, we can tweak it any way possible. And it would be nice if anybody else was there with me, because two people can present, and we can have any number of people actually as presenters. But I like doing it, and I just think it is a lot of fun. That does reach a good number of people.
So I think, Diane, just to paraphrase what you're saying, it sounds like you would be interested and willing to to reach out to other teachers, both those teachers who have been involved in NASA programs before, but that you wouldn't want to exclude other teachers who are really interested and want to join in.
Yes.
But that also as a lead teacher, for you to go out, that you feel you need some additional support and preparation before being prepared to do that.
Yes.
Okay. And it seemed like from the chat comments that Laura was sending out that's something that, Laura, you would want some support on as well in terms of clarification and preparation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. I agree. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could be something where maybe we do, and I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, but it could be something where there's a smaller group that two of the lead teachers reach out to and lead, and we kind of do maybe a little test case, and see how that goes. So it's not like this, it kind of like a step into leading it, and then take a look at how that went, what went well, what could have used some more support. And then I see Laura's comment about bringing in new people a few at a time, with each of us acting as a mentor to the new people.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What are people's thoughts on that idea? How does that feel to people? Does that feel, Laura, we've heard from Laura, and I agree, and Diane, I agree with what you wrote about no previous NASA. We wouldn't want to lock them out. No, I think, what would people, so maybe ask the question, I'm sorry, I'm kind of thinking out loud here too. So if we wanted to reach out to people at some point that didn't have NASA workshop experience, what would that look like? What are some possibilities? Maybe a better question is, what to be able to support people without that workshop experience, do you think, in your opinion?
Well, whenever I'm presenting stuff, I'm looking for cheap, easy stomp rackets. Yeah, and things that will give variety and the kids will like, but really teaches them something different. Something in a way they haven't thought of before. So I'm always looking for that.
So would you want it, so in inviting other people to come, let's say, you know, continuing these monthly meetings, would you want to invite a few at a time? What does that mean? Does that mean one or two? Does that mean, and then we don't invite anybody for a while? Can people invite every month and invite a new person, or do we want to, especially, you know, I hear this mentoring piece, so would we want to, you know, each of you pick, you know, one or two people and introduce them to the group and do some mentoring that way, or have mentors set up within the group that would work with those new individual people? And, you know, what would feel comfortable, you know, especially knowing that we had to work so hard to, not work so hard, that's the wrong word, but that it took a little bit of time for us all to get used to each other and to come together and find a good way to converse with one another, and where we all felt comfortable and we all felt open and free. So keeping that in mind, what might work best in how we invite people?
Yeah.
I just know that in the beginning, when we first started, and it was just a phone call, it was so hard to try to get in and talk. And if you get too many people in the group, like you said, it'll be too hard to have people put in their 2 cents. It's nice having this chat, because if you can't put your 2 cents worth in, you can at least make a comment within the chat. So the way we have things set up now, I really like one time, and not having a chance to listen to them or have their questions answered. It'll be just
Does anybody disagree with that or feel differently than that?
I actually didn't catch most of that. That was, I think most of that was the end of that statement, at least, was sort of cut off. So maybe you could paraphrase for us, Nancy, or Andy. I mean, if you did in fact hear the whole thing.
I'm having a hard
I thought
time.
I did. It was just.
I'm having a hard time hearing too.
I am too. Maybe it's just the connection. I don't know. But Lynn, what I heard you say was that to just bring them in, you know, slowly at a time, and work with them a little bit to make sure that so that he.
Yeah, this is a bad connection.
Question answer. We have too many. Oh, is it? Am I cutting out?
Yep. This is a bad.
Can you hear me now?
Whether
Okay.
it's a bad connection overall, or if it's just like a couple of people have bad connections. But it is challenging today to hear each other.
I'm having a hard time hearing Lynn and Andy. That's it.
Okay. So let me try and paraphrase for the benefit of Claire and others what I've been saying. Dan, are you okay? Something funny happened.
Are we laughing or crying? I hear crying, laughing noises.
I just got tickled. Yeah, how hard it has been today.
Yeah, I feel like we're not quite gelling today in the way that we normally do. That's that's unfortunate, but maybe it's partly because we're missing people. Maybe it's partly because it's the last one that we planned. Maybe it's a message to us that we need to continue moving forward to get back on track, to stay on track. So I think, Lynn, could you, perhaps it would be useful for you to say through the chat window, to summarize in the chat window. So we've got that in your words.
I don't know why I'm having such trouble, but some of you, when you talk, your voices just go, woo! Okay, I'll try to chat.
What was that? Did everybody hear the truck backing up?
That's one of the gremlins. The Zoom troll.
I was going to say another earthquake.
So, Wendy, maybe since it seems like we can hear you, do you want to weigh in on any of this? Welcome, Jim.
Oh. Oh.
Hi, Jim. This is Ashley.
Oh, hi.
Hey.
Glad to have you join us.
No, sorry. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. I'll bring in Park. Good.
Today's been a little challenging with Zoom for several of us. So
okay.
I think maybe it might help if you can put yourself on mute.
Okay. Okay. We'll do.
Thank you. Okay, Wendy, let's go back to you.
Well, when I did my HEA thing at the Wisconsin Society of Science Teachers, I had maybe 25 people there. And then when I was done, there was about maybe 7 or 8 of them that stayed behind and wanted to talk more in depth with me on that. And you could tell out of that 7 and 8 that maybe there was about 5 of them that were really excited about what I showed them. They wanted me to follow up with them and stuff. That would be a way for me to get in touch with people, I guess. But that's not until, when did I do that? February or March? So next year. I could see getting maybe a couple people in my district interested in the 8th grade. They do earth science and astronomy, so that could be something I could do. I think if you get a couple people in, each of us, that would be more than enough.
Well, I'm wondering too about, can you hear me? Okay.
Yep. Wait, maybe not.
Yeah, we could hear you, Wendy.
Okay. I thought that was Andy that was talking. Don't know.
Yeah.
I tried, but then my screen was frozen, and I lost all audio, so I wasn't sure about what's going on. But so it sounds like we're comfortable about growing this slowly. You know, I hear things like, 3 to 6 max. I hear, just a little bit at a time. So how do we make that selection process? And then, this is started out as a heliophysics group, and while there may be some interest in other things, how do we, part of the mission of this group was to, or the goal of this group was to support the teaching of heliophysics for teachers and those familiar with it. So, idea still in growing our group to new members. I guess maybe.
So Andy, you started to cut off a little bit there.
My question, or how does that fit still in?
Yeah.
Did anybody hear me? Or?
Andy, you got cut off a little bit.
So, okay, so I guess my question to the group is, with this being a heliophysics-focused group, how does the idea of continuing to support and encourage the teaching of heliophysics in classrooms still fit in growing and adding new members?
So Laura's saying maybe the main lead teacher group stays a group to help each other share the Helio info with new members. I thought at first that said share the hello info with new members. Maybe it's the same thing.
Yeah, that's how I read it too, with hello. So, okay, and so I agree. I think that's a great that we continue to talk and that be the focus. Is other people okay with that still being the focus of, does that still feel right about the other piece that how would you, if we just agree it's just a few members, 3 to 6 or so, how do we make that selection process? Is it something that people introduce, or anybody can bring? How would you envision that we include these people and begin?
Oh, Andy?
We can hear you.
Oh, yeah. I think because right now we're going over the next gen standards, and I looked through them, and to incorporate heliophysics into the main curriculum might be kind of tough, because there's you have to kind of do there's an earth science section that you might be able to squeeze a little bit in, but a lot of schools might be really focused on next gen standards, and it might be kind of hard to see where heliophysics fits in there.
Okay, Wendy's having a fit.
I've looked at those NGSS standards, and there's a major heliophysics component to it. I don't have the thing memorized, but I know there's a place to put it. Definitely. Our district is like combing through those things, you know, and I'm just getting fired up because, and I'm the only one that could ever teach it too, so it puts a major responsibility on me, and I know there's other teachers that don't know half as much as I knew that are going to have a problem, so I think Jim's wrong.
Would it be helpful, or would it be of interest?
Part of our well, not our problem, but part of how we as heliophysics people can help support is that there is a space in there in the NGS to rise. It's just that nobody knows how to say heliophysics yet, or that heliophysics means sun and science, right? And that it does more than just give us a point of reference in the universe to where our Earth and Moon are. But as we look at things like coronal mass ejections, and we look at you know, all of the space weather, that's going to become more and more important to helping teachers understand that piece. So while the NGSS is only, you know, so far in its evolution, in looking at what it already teaches, then that might be part of what this group helps to do, is to help forge how other teachers are able to bring that science into the classroom and why it would be important. That's just my 2 cents worth.
Would it be helpful to this group to have a meeting to go over the next gen science standards and the connections to heliophysics?
I think I'd be willing to do that. I think that'd be an awesome idea. And it's not just high school, middle school, it's all through. Somebody said that. Yes, Laura, all through all of the grades, down to kindergarten. And I know those elementary science, those elementary teachers need help big time.
So Lynn, your question, didn't we have a map of that? So there are the heliophysics concept maps, which link it to the AAAS benchmarks. So we've got a lot of that information already, but now there's the kind of the extra piece of linking it to the next gen science standards, which I believe is something that is being worked on within the NASA Heliophysics Forum. So I can double check on that, and then maybe we can have, for those of you who are interested, we could have a separate meeting to go over that.
And I was going to say, Nancy, when you were cutting out, but there is a group that is working on forming a crosswalk between the benchmarks and the NGSS, and we'll be discussing that next week at the retreat a little bit as well. So we may have some pieces that we can even better show or support that we could offer this group in addressing those questions. And
excellent, good. Yeah, I thought I heard something about that, so I'm glad that you have the information. So we're getting close to the end of our time together. And I know that Dawn has an update on the Van Allen probes data meeting for those of you who are interested in using some of the Van Allen probes. So I think that perhaps what I'd like to suggest at this point, because this meeting has been a little herky-jerky and there's also others who weren't able to join us now, that perhaps we write up what we've heard from this meeting. The coordinators, what we still need to get together, and what we had been talking about is perhaps putting together like a 6-month vision for the community of practice. And then, so we've got the feedback that you've given to us through the survey. We've heard some more feedback now. We're also keeping in mind the larger picture within where this fits with NASA. So perhaps what I can suggest at this point is that we take all of these pieces of information and put together a proposal that we can then bring back to you as the lead teachers for discussion. How does that sound? Okay. Okay, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dawn to talk about the Van Allen Probes data meeting update.
Thanks, Nancy. Can everybody hear me?
Hey, I'm going to disappear for just a minute. I have to go get my daughter. She's waiting out front, but I'll be right back.
Okay, thanks, Debbie. And yes, Dawn, we can hear you.
Okay. This is going to be very quick. I just wanted to let everybody know that we did hear your request for an update tutorial about looking at the Van Allen Probes data and the different instrument data. John Bunnell, who gave the talk a few weeks ago, or a couple months ago actually now, met with a scientist here, Dr. Dan Smith, and they are outlining a plan of what to show you guys and working through some of the data to pull out examples of that, and also planning out basically what they want to show you. So they were planning to show you samples of what the data would look like, what that data means, and then how to access that data in different locations on some different data portals. So they are going to be outlining some things, I believe, next week, and then we are hoping to have a meeting with all of you, whoever is interested in coming, either the second week of October or the third week of October. And it looks like Thursdays are the best night for Dr. Bunnell. And I just wanted to check to see if those dates would be okay with you guys. We'll set, Nancy, are you able to send out a poll to see if that works for everyone?
Yeah, I can set up a poll on Wigio.
Okay. So just I just wanted to get a feel from the people that are here tonight. Is that something that still sounds like it would be doable for you guys? That's something that you would be interested in? Okay, and do Thursday nights generally work for you guys? Great. Sounds good. So probably it's going to be October 10th, but it may be October 17th. So just kind of pencil those things in, and we'll get some feedback from you guys, and then we'll send out a notice for the date and time of that. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Dawn. So speaking of polls, in moving forward, so review of next steps, I would say that the coordinators group will get together, we'll come up with a proposal for moving forward, share it out with you all. So that would be one big next step. And then a second big next step is to establish time for a monthly October meeting, and then monthly meetings thereafter. Which this time that we're having right now was set based on the information that you all had provided last January. But of course, this year is a different school year, different schedules for some of you. You know, clearly we're missing a lot of people today for a variety of reasons. So I think that it's worth revisiting the timing of this and to see if there's another time that might work better for everyone. So I will follow up on this by creating some kind of a poll to find out that in general the best days, times, whether Saturdays might be an option, that sort of thing, and we'll see if we can find a time that will work for ideally for everyone. So more to come on that. You can keep an eye out over email and Wigio for that. Andy, did I miss anything as far as next steps goes? I see you talking, but you're on mute.
There, now I'm put together. I couldn't find my microphone. No, it sounded like you got everything. I think the question that I still had on my list was just about something for the group to think about. You already mentioned, you know, how do we want to start addressing the wide view in, or the wide needs in times, and, you know, could it be a shifting time? Does it always have to be the same time every time, just to help accommodate and make sure we have, you know, our weekends available, those kinds of pieces. But that was my only question, and I think you already kind of put that out there, and I think from a poll we can get it.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, and then I guess the other next step that I'll mention is that all of the lead teachers' honoraria paperwork will be submitted before the end of September, so you can expect to receive that in the mail. Oh, depends on how fast Berkeley wants to process it. Could be a couple of weeks. We had, unfortunately, Jim's got delayed somehow last time. So I think on average it takes about 3 weeks. But if you don't hear receive anything by the end of October, let me know. Oh, Dar says expect 4 to 6 weeks, just to be safe. Thanks, Dar. So I think let's wrap up for today. And then you can be happily surprised if it comes early. Yes, exactly. That's the Berkeley way. So
Nancy?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to rebut Wendy. Okay, no, this for Nevada. Okay, just in Nevada right here, I'm looking at right now. HSESS 1.1 is the only thing explicitly with space weather. That's huge, but however, in the context of all the next gen, as far as like engineering, all the other concepts, like here at Carson High School, I brought that up that, heliophysics is a big thing. They're going, well, it's only just one content strand. In the whole scope of things, there's an explicit section on it, but to persuade other teachers to invest, to go full bore in physics, they're going to argue. My feedback was, yeah, it's only one section in the whole set of standards, and that's what I was trying to articulate was that I don't know, it's big here, but some of the teachers who aren't well versed in heliophysics are very limited to just seeing one strand on it, and so they're focused on the one strand, and they're putting value on it, and that saying that it's not that big of a deal for us to worry about. We should worry about the other, it's just, and so that's why we have to kind of argue with the teachers, hey, if you get involved in this, you can see where it might filter into other areas and stuff. So that's the thing I was trying to say on that.
Okay. Did you look at the middle school ones, or were you looking at
high school? Look at the high school one.
Okay.
Yeah, high school just has one strand that's explicitly, it says space weather directly on it. And that's the one where, with my colleagues up here, we have like 18 other teachers. They're like, "Oh yeah, that's only one section. Let's not get all riled up about it and stuff." And I'm like, "Well, so I was in the minority in in that situation."
Yeah, just the engineering component and the inquiry thing that can come in. Looking at the Themis data or whatever, can definitely be used with all this.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, that's why I told them you have to get more involved in this, and they're like, "Well, we don't have time." And so this could be just it's uphill battle here. Stuff.
So I think that I'm glad you brought this up, Jim, and thanks for the reference. And I think that this is probably a whole other discussion that we need to have. And I appreciate your point about the need to do a little bit of convincing or publicity or to express the value. And I'm glad to hear from Andy that there are people who are already thinking that way. And so actually, I think that probably after next week, we'll be able to respond better to that. So let's put that one on hold for the moment and come back to it in October. So Andy, I know that you've got another event that you need to run off to. You're quite the multitasker. Thank you for joining today, and especially with the challenges with the internet. But perhaps I can turn it over to you for our closing.
Sure. So, I just want to take a minute to thank everyone for all the work that you have done, and it really has been a lot like pioneering and blazing that trail in what seemed to be a little bit nebulous and unknown story, but I hope that you're finding that your view of the ocean here is a lovely one, and that I'm just so grateful for everybody's contributions and willingness. I'm really glad to know that so many people are willing to stay with this project, and I know for sure for me it's been a very wonderful endeavor and has brought a lot of interest and insight into how this work plays out in the field. So I'd just like to open it up for anybody else that would like to share any pieces of gratitude, and then we can close.
I just wanted to thank everyone again for taking the time to fill out the survey and for all of your really good comments. So thank you.
Yeah, and I would just like to say it's it's been a pleasure working with all of you and an inspiration too. And you know, I feel like when I look back at where we were in January and where we are now, we've come a long way, and this group has developed a cohesion, and I'm just so thrilled that so many of you are interested in continuing on and moving forward. So thank you very much for all of your hard work, and it's not over yet.
I've really enjoyed
and thank goodness for that.
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted to say I've really enjoyed everyone's humor and patience, and I think that bringing those two things to the table has really been made this a great experience. But there were some roadblocks, and those attributes, and combined with everyone's hard work and determination, has really made this a great journey. Thank you. Thanks, Laura.
Yes, thank you, Laura. It was really lovely. We're all looking forward to the future too, Wendy. This is really exciting that it has turned out the way it has. So, all right. Well, here's to your lovely evening and your weekend, and we'll all look for Nancy's poll so that we can figure out how soon we can meet again, and look for some info from us about things that we got out of this meeting and what some of our next discussions are going to be.
Thanks, Sandy.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.